Hey everybody, it's Jeff here once again with C-Werx and our Community Works program, and I am very excited and very honored here today to be with Larry Terrell from
Footprints Children's Grief Ministries.
Children's Grief Ministries. I had the honor of being at an award ceremony for them very recently here, and it was I am just very excited to learn more about their organization. As always, make sure that you subscribe right down below us. That's our subscription button, because you want to make sure that you get these things as soon as they come out and you don't miss any. So Larry, tell us a little bit about Footprints and how you began. How'd you start with this?
Well, Footprints Children's Grief Ministry was not something that I just woke up one morning and thought about. We went through a family crisis. My wife was diagnosed with cancer, and during that 2 years I learned how to be a caregiver. Well, during this time my church recognized that I'd also be a pretty good Stephen minister. Well, during this time when I graduated from my Stephen ministry training, a bereavement camp for children asked me if I would come and volunteer for them. Well, after about 6 or 7 years working there, I found out you can really help a child in 3 days if you just listen to them. About October of 2011, our church had experienced a lot of deaths, and it involved 4 children in just our church alone. And they asked me if they could start a children's ministry. That's when I started finding out that churches don't do that. And
there wasn't really a model to
there's no models there. In the end, they said, well, why don't you do it? And I said, well, I'm gonna have to think about this, do a lot of praying. And about 2 months later, I went back and I said, okay. I made some phone calls. We spent 2 years of developing this Footprints program before we ever had a class. We tried our very best to make it as secure and safe, not only for the children, but also for the volunteers, the parents, and whoever is associated with Footprints.
Okay.
That was our main concern, and we have achieved that. We had our first class in 2014. Getting the first class was very difficult. We only had, I think we had 4 kids. But it was highly successful. I got so many letters of appreciation from the parents on what we had done for them and their kids. Now, this was bereavement. This was children and families that have gone through loss due to death. And then in 2017, the YMCA wanted us to come in and kind of a partnership with them. And they said, could you develop a loss due to divorce? Make a long story short, our first class was in 2017. We developed it, we staffed it, and we had a class within 2 months, highly successful. You know, we do have, at the end of every class or every workshop, they fill out an evaluation form to let us know where we are. But some parents write letters, and I've had a number of letters from my parents that have told me was that what you taught our family to do is to have a meaningful conversation about issues, about what is going on with your life, about emotions, that gives the children permission to talk to their own parents. Really, that's the only thing we're trying to achieve here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that now. So what's some of the cornerstones of your method? How do you do it?
I've got some wonderful volunteers. They're all volunteers. They all go through extensive background checks. They are well trained, but they're never put in a class the first time as the lead. We've got 3 facilitators in the classes. It's called a lead facilitator, is usually the most experienced. You've got the assistant, who is sometimes less experienced, sometimes not. And we have the backup. Now the backup sounds like, well, gee, why do you have a backup? Well, that's safe sanctuary, that if a child has to leave the room, they're not able to leave by themselves. There is supervision in the hallway outside of the classroom, so the child is never alone. But the biggest reason for the backup is this. If it's a new volunteer, they get to learn how the class functions and what we do and how we do it. But a lot of times we have some of our most experienced facilitators in there as a backup, because during supervision is we go over what worked and what didn't work. Now that's just the curriculum, and that is just how the children reacted. No names are ever mentioned. All we do is work the children through play therapy that gives them the opportunity to talk about what this game is. And we have games on anger, we've got games on loneliness, we got games on all kinds of things that give the children an idea or gives them permission to start talking about how they feel. What's wonderful about this is when one child starts talking, the reason we like to have 8 children or more in there, you have a conversation. And I've got to tell you, at the end of one of our last classes, we did something we don't normally do. We called all of the parents and the kids, the facilitators, into the big conference room. And I kind of thought about, well, why don't I just ask the facilitators, what did you get out of these classes? And the facilitators started talking about it, what they got out of it. Then the parents wanted to talk. Now, what happened that has never happened is every child raised their hand. And this one child, she says, before I came to Footprints, I was in a very dark place. She said, but you saved my life. And that just kind of knocked me in the dirt.
Sure.
I mean, oh my. And we've had 3 divorce classes, very successful.
Okay.
But we're still learning. Every class is a learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, that was really, you said you launched that last year, so
I'm
sure you're...
Yeah, we got classes starting September the 27th of this year, and they will run for 8 weeks up until November the 15th, I think. Okay. And if we can get those classes filled, we're accepting applications for children lost due to death or lost due to divorce. They're not in the same class. Class age ranges are 6 to 10,
Okay.
11 to 15, 16 to 18.
Okay, which makes sense. They're all kind of that, elementary, middle school, senior,
And that's the way we do work it. Most of our classes are ages 6 to 10.
Okay.
But we've had 1 or 2 classes of teens.
Okay.
But we don't get many of that.
Really? Okay.
Wish we did. Mental health professionals have told me this as well because we've asked. When is it appropriate to come to a program such as Footprints? Or when is it appropriate to go and have counseling? It can always be too soon, but it can never be too late. Since we do no therapy, we do no counseling, we are in partnership with a number of organizations that do children counseling.
Okay.
And we interview every parent before they come to our classes. And we try to have a mental health professional with us during that interview to where we can determine if they need professional care or if they could use Footprints, which is just a fun time.
Sure.
And if we determine that they need counseling, they are referred.
Well, and that makes complete sense because, okay, maybe we can slowly lag into it or, significant counseling now.
We've had children.
Do you see people come back the other direction?
Yes.
Go through counseling and then come back through?
I've had them, I'll name one off, Story. They were one of our first that came on board. We've had referrals from Story because they do the same thing we do and they determine that they don't need counseling or therapy.
Okay.
All they need is an understanding heart, an understanding mind. If you lost somebody that you dearly loved, what would it have meant to you to have had an adult that would sit down with you and listen to what you had to say, non-judgmental and confidential?
Yeah.
How would that be? And that is our service in what we do.
That's fantastic. What are some of the challenges that you face?
Every class is a challenge. You've got people that are in there from all walks of life, from all levels of anxiety. We're just lucky we've got some very, very well-experienced volunteers. Most of the volunteers that serve for Footprints in the parents' classes are Stephen ministers.
Okay.
So they already know how to work with parents because they like to go through their issues as well. The biggest challenge we have right now is we need volunteers.
Okay.
We need them bad. And we need average, everyday people that just has a heart for children. We will train you how to do this. You will not be thrown into a class completely raw or cold. But it takes 7 people to put on a class. One of the things also that is really difficult, nonprofits are exactly what they're called. It takes contributions, it takes donors. We need to get to the level to where we can afford to have at least one paid administrator. Because my administration duties that I do is probably 3/4 of what I do all year long.
You just have to be keeping the balls in the air and the plate spinning at the same time.
Trying to keep them going, you know. And but that's not just me. That's our president, that's the vice president, that's our vice president of marketing. 5 wonderful board members that, gosh, if we didn't have them, you know, it would be tough.
What are some of the ways that people can help you?
Volunteer.
Okay.
We need officers. We need board members. We need more officers to where we're not overworking any one of our volunteers.
You got a special award this year that was pretty amazing.
Yes,
and this was the Ethics in Business Award.
Yeah,
So
this
2018
Ethics in Business Award.
Got to see you on stage there receiving that award. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, gee, that was the most phenomenal thing that I think has happened in my life. Everybody has 15 seconds of fame. Well, I think that was my 15 minutes. But it wasn't mine, it was Footprints. Yes, that was amazing. Absolutely amazing ride.
And then so then the process is you go, they don't know who won.
No.
You go to the annual Recognized Good Ethics in Business Awards, and it's a huge event. A couple hundred people.
I think they said 700.
700 people
700.
in a room. It was massive. And you get announced
Yeah.
as the winner.
Gee, there was 32 nonprofits up for that.
Yeah.
And
you were down to the last 3.
And that's the reason I thought, gee, 3 out of 32 is not bad.
Yeah. And very few win it the first time.
Yeah.
So now what's the future? Where would you like to see it?
Oh, where I'd like to see it. Okay, I'm just going to talk about me then, I guess. We're in discussions of licensing our program. And what we want to do is to offer this program to all churches and to all facilities, such as the YMCAs. We've got a plan. I mean, this isn't something we just kind of threw out there. This is a well-determined plan on how we can do this. But it's going to take time. And licensing is very expensive. And we're not there yet.
So if somebody wants to get involved, what do they need to do?
Fill out an application.
Okay, how do they get it?
They can go online
Okay.
at footprintschildrensgriefministry.org.
Okay.
And our applications are online.
Okay, perfect.
Pretty soon they're going to be to where you can submit them. But right now, the applications have to be downloaded and filled out and mailed to us.
Perfect. Now, if somebody says, well, I don't have the time to be able to do that, but I want to give you money, how do they do that?
Oh, fine. There is a button on our website.
Outstanding.
That they can hit. They can use PayPal. They can do whatever they want to do. And there's all kinds of ways that you can give. I'd say just about everything we bring in goes to the kids and getting these classes going.
Sure. And there is a wonderful group of people out there that would love to help out.
I'd like to read off something to you if I could.
Sure.
The purpose of the program is very important to us, and how we set this up. Number one is to create an accepting atmosphere, and that is to allow the child to be in an environment that is safe and nurturing and accepting of all emotions, to be with other children who are similar in age to share the intense emotions associated with that grief, to experience laughter and fun without feeling guilty and being a normal child, because we play games, but the games are pointed at recognizing emotions, to take them out of a stressful environment surrounding the loss where adults may not be able to answer or address the child's questions. That is the whole key to what we do, to give the children permission to open up to not only their siblings, but open up to other children, but also open up to their parents to talk about their true feelings, and to also have the child to understand that they are not alone. They're not alone in their grief. They're not alone in how they feel. Teach awareness of the different stages of grief. Introduce anger management and coping skills. That's the next. Number 4, provide the children with adult guidance trained in listening skills and confidentiality. That is absolutely huge. 5, emphasizing positive memories instead of focusing on just their loss. This all starts with the introduction of footprints, the very first workshop, and is continued through the closing ceremony to reinforce the idea that you are not alone. And in this world, others in this class share the same emotions that you do. And so that's basically what we are.
Well, thank you for what you do. We're going to do whatever we can to help you, but folks, this is a fantastic organization. If you want to get involved, reach out to them through the website. We have that down below on our website and below on YouTube. If you want to help out financially, go to the website, click that button, and drop in some money now. Well, folks, thanks a lot. Once again, another phenomenal organization from our community. Get out there, support it. If this is something that really resonates with you, if you've had grief in your life and you need some help too, it's a great opportunity to maybe help others while you help yourself at that point. So thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for what you did, and going into retirement to start something else like this is fantastic. And we certainly want to help you wherever we can as well. So folks, thanks a lot, and we will see you back here next week.